So let's talk about Tropical Storm Imelda. So Tuesday, it came onto the coastline. It was bordering Galveston and all the surrounding cities along the coast. Dickinson, Bay City, Freeport, because it came on shore on Freeport. And Freeport is like a few miles south of Galveston. So it rained a little bit Tuesday. Then it rained Wednesday. So it's raining off and on. And it really didn't just, stick to the ground. The ground was absorbing all the rain. So into Wednesday, into Thursday night, it was still raining. So it started to rain all day. School was canceled in the district that my children go to. HISD did not cancel school. They sent everybody out to work and school in these weather conditions. And the city really dropped the ball. So thankfully, my kids are not in HISD. We're east of Houston, so we're not in that district. But we watched a lot of people go out into bad weather. So people started to leave work early on Thursday. And this is what the conditions were. All the feeder roads were submerged in water. There were cars with water up to their tires. Some people had water up to their headlights. There was one instance that I saw where there was a group of people lined up on a lower lying freeway, and water just came rushing in. And the thing about Houston's infrastructure is Houston is full of bayous, and Houston is built on a swamp, just like New Orleans, Miami, and a whole lot of other coastal cities in the South. And when you live along the coastline, you're already below sea level because a lot of these coastlines are steady sinking. And this is what my street was looking like. This is the street in front of where I live. This is what it started to look like. I mean, this water was 3.5 feet deep. There were cars driving through this water. It was a car even stuck in this water. And it was just a hot mess. And the weather conditions could have been way worse if it rained 24 more hours. And whenever you see a radar looking like this, it's about to flood. All that deep purple and red, it's going to get really bad in Houston. And Houston was, lucky that this didn't cover the entire city. This radar is only covering pretty much the southern and eastern and northeastern counties. And the city officials, they made excuses for why they didn't close down schools. They had parents getting their kids rescued from schools via the fire department. And that's like, that's nerve-wracking for a parent to not know whether their child is safe or not. And sometimes you just have to use your better judgment. I'm not blaming anybody's parents, because sometimes people just doing so much in life. They're working. They got so much going on. Some people not even paying attention to the weather. But I encourage people to start paying attention to the weather, because you can't rely on your local news, your local meteorologist to tell you what's going on. You have to use this internet for more than just social media, likes, trolling. Use social media for something good that's going to save your life, because when you're living along this Gulf Coast, you need to be prepared. You need to have life jackets. You need to have food at all times, water at all times. You need to have supplies, saved. Before I moved into a city, I was raised in a rural area south of Houston. That's where I was born and raised. So I know how to survive in, conditions, because I've been living along the Gulf Coast all my life. And so when you're living along the Gulf Coast, you have to always be in survival mode. And these waters can have alligators, and I've seen them pull alligators out of schools. You got snakes everywhere, water moccasins, copperheads. You got all this in the water. Ants. You have to be prepared. The worst thing I ever saw was an apartment complex a couple of years ago floating babies out in coolers and all kind of flotation devices, because nobody was sent to help these people or rescue these people. These people had to rescue themselves. And during Harvey, the city of Houston banded together and saved each other. A lot of our residents have boats. A lot of people in this area, they like to fish and stuff. So people are, conscious of how to deal with water rescues and all that. You had civilians rescuing people with boats. Um, you had people getting together and getting food. Now during Ike, we were just inconvenienced without lights, which is really a big convenience. And we was inconvenienced for 2 weeks without lights, and it was a hot mess around here. There was no street lights. So just imagine driving in a big city like Houston and there's no street lights. It was complete chaos. People were pulling guns on each other. People was fighting over gas. You have to deal with these type of situations when it's a weather event. And so with Imelda, it wasn't that bad, but it could have been worse if it rained 24 more hours. If it was just 24 more hours of rain, this situation would have been worse than Harvey. And it was just a tropical storm. So it doesn't have to be a hurricane. It doesn't have to be, a tropical storm. It could just be torrential rain, like the Tax Day flood and the Memorial Day flood. Those were not storms. Those were just, you know, weather events that showed up out of nowhere and flooded portions of the city. So my heart goes out to the people who just lost everything 2 years ago, and now they have to turn right back around and try to start all over from scratch. People in Kingwood, from Winnie all the way down Beaumont, Lake Charles area, everybody's trying to put everything back together. So I just advise everybody to stay abreast with what's going on, weather-wise, news-wise. Use alternative media, use YouTube, whatever websites, Twitter. Anybody give you information, take in the information, research. Always stay on your P's and Q's. And thanks for watching my video.